So, I'm going to be doing video series discussing various things, including this journey, recognizing that this is a radical journey in our community, within the legacies, even of African immigrants, to challenge traditional mainstream education institutions and to challenge the the imagination of what homeschooling is, to integrate the imaginations and the possibilities of homeschooling with freedom schooling, to stretch the limits, to engage education as an intergenerational, broad community, movement building activity. And to do this while journeying with you, sharing the process, sharing the thoughts, the philosophy, and looking back, reflecting on my own educational experiences and Zomi's educational experiences and why this is the path that we're choosing moving forward. First of all, I wanted to outline the path of my education and the path of my journey to this point in as short a breath as possible. So, my first educational experience began at about 5 years old, maybe a little earlier. And this was kindergarten training, as I remember it, at All Saints Cathedral in Nairobi, Kenya. The institution was a neighborhood kindergarten in a neighborhood of community in Upper Hill where we lived. And I remember it really as my worst experience in formal education. I remember a lot of bullying from students, peers at the playground. I remember bullying on on the swings. I remember bullying and physical violence by my teachers upon me, specifically during reading sessions because I struggled to read. I remember fear. I remember being made to wear the ugly suits in class and feeling less than. And the interesting thing is that I did not communicate these feelings and experiences with my parents until decades later when I began to realize that I could have and I should have, and that during these experiences there was a path to receive intervention and protection. I went on to public primary school at Kilimani Primary School on Kilimani Road in Kilimani, near Lavington, near Yaya Center, a public school where I was from pre-unit. I was there in 1996 at 6 years old. I was in first grade of standard 1 in 1997. Second grade of standard 2. I was there in 1998. Grade 3, 99. Grade 4, 2000. Grade 5, 2001. I did very well academically in this public school, Kilimani. I was often top of my class or And I remember that I was frequently awarded prizes at the prize giving day. I also was often a student leader from an early age at this school. We call them prefects, and I was often a beneficiary of teachers' love. And really, what that manifested in was, just extra gentleness, extra attention. They would have me and a few other select teachers' pets be appointed there, to assist them to write notes on the blackboard, to carry their purses from their cars to our classes. That's what I remember about being a teacher's pet, just that extra bit of love. That extra bit of love was so powerful. And retrospectively, it was such a fortune to have received that, but it's also such a misfortune to see that not everybody received that. And seeing as how powerful that may have been in making a difference in how we were able to succeed through these institutions. For grade 6, I transferred into a private school, Makini Primary School, on Gong Road in Nairobi, where I was till grade 8 or class 8. And the subsequent 3 years that I have referred to as grade 6 to 8 were really rigorous in terms of academics. Makini School really loves that stuff, really puts a lot of energy in drilling us to become experts at succeeding in the system. Let me say it like that, for better or for worse. And for those who had the capacity, for whatever reason, to succeed in the system, Makini was a place where the teachers, I feel, were connected or very well aware of how the education, the ministry was going to challenge us, and so prepared us to beat the system. So I did very well, and in 8th grade, I was one of the top students in the country in the national exams, which in Kenya is a big honor and a very big achievement. And it took a lot of work. It took a lot of sleepless nights. It took a lot of channeling for me, all of myself into academics. But I like to explain that for me, the driver was already rooted in my own missions around social and political revolution, and my desire to participate in social and political revolution. The energy manifested in the ways I engaged my academics. So I would experience my academic work as an avenue, sort of a symbolic battlefront for the issues that I cared about. And I took my work as if it was immediately having ripple effects on these things that I was invested in. So I then proceeded into high school. I went to Alliance Girls High School, and that is in Kikuyu, Kenya. And this is a very famous, high-performing institution that is revered for producing women that go on to do very great things at leadership capacities in the country, historically. It was the first African girls' school in post-colonial, actually pre-colonial Kenya. The first African girls' high school, founded in, the 1930s or 40s. I continued to do pretty damn good academically, but I chilled out a bit, I would say, I did good enough, pretty damn good enough. It was no longer an obsession. And not an obsession in a bad way. I mean, I wasn't as invested in what that delivered, and I began to journey, I feel, more meaningfully through to, I don't know, just in understanding that grades were not really everything. Slowly but surely, I was also preoccupied with all the other activities of high school. For me, there was a lot of student leadership work, music. Music really budded, if that is the word, budded in high school. A lot happened in high school, and I'll get into it slowly over time. And in my senior year, I was the school captain, which is the student leader in charge of the school. It's a lot of work, a lot of good things. It was one of my best years ever. And I didn't complete that year. I made an interesting leap to South Africa, to the African Leadership Academy, before completing my high school diploma, where I joined an institution that attempted or continues to attempt being a freedom school. And unfortunately struggles with its neoliberal white foundations, but at a minimum delivered a very rich cultural and social experience by having a school with students from all over the continent, and lots of faculty from all over the continent and around the world. I then went to Michigan State 2 years later, where I had received full tuition scholarships for all my 4 years. So I therefore graduated. Oh God.